Corporate America calls it store portfolio optimization. Wall Street logged a $232 million impairment charge. But across rural America, it translates to something far more brutal. $1,482 stores shuttered in under 2 years, and in 44 counties, they were the last place to buy food. When the dollar store closes, the town doesn't just lose a store. 53 million Americans are about to find out what comes next. Dollar General, Family Dollar, and 99 cents only have triggered the largest contraction in discount retail history. Since early 2024, these chains have announced or executed at least 1,482 closures nationwide. Dollar General alone has confirmed 96 store shutdowns and the retirement of 45 pop shelf locations. Family Dollar's parent company, Dollar Tree, put roughly 1,000 stores on the chopping block in 2024, with another 370 already slated for closure through 2026. 99 cents only, once a Western staple, liquidated all 371 stores in a single sweep. Behind the numbers sits a corporate calculus. Todd Vasos, CEO of Dollar General, called it a store portfolio optimization review, citing performance metrics and operating conditions. The reality for Wall Street was a $232 million impairment charge booked in the fourth quarter, 2024, dragging down earnings but pleasing investors eager for a leaner balance sheet. SEC filings lay out the formula. Any store with same-store sales growth below 2%, inventory turning less than 4 times per year, or SNAP-derived revenue under 8% was flagged for termination. These shutdowns are not random. They are algorithmic. The closures fall heaviest on low-margin, low-traffic rural sites where SNAP transactions once kept the lights on. Now, with federal benefit changes further shrinking that customer base, the math no longer works. The result is a nationwide cull that leaves entire counties without a single retail food outlet, with the pain mapped zip code by zip code, community by community. The boundaries of rural food deserts are drawn not by chance, but by geography and policy. The USDA sets the line. In rural America, a food desert begins where the nearest supermarket is more than 10 miles away. That single number, 10 miles, translates to a daily barrier for millions. The latest USDA Food Access Research Atlas and American Community Survey data confirm the scope. 53.6 million Americans now live in low-income, low-access tracts. In these places, the loss of even one retailer can erase the only source of groceries for an entire county. The problem is not abstract. 44 counties in the United States have no supermarket or large grocery store at all. Each one is rural, with populations often under 15,000 and vehicle access far from guaranteed. In Arkansas, the crisis is total. All 75 counties meet the USDA's food desert criteria, with many counties containing only low-access tracts. In eastern North Carolina, nearly 1 in 5 residents faces food insecurity, a rate that outpaces national averages and continues to climb as stores disappear. Distance is not just a number, it is a daily calculation. For rural households without a car, the average trip to a supermarket can stretch well beyond the national rural average of 12 miles. In some flagged counties, the trip exceeds 20 miles, each closure multiplying the hardship. The map of America's food deserts is not a static portrait. It is a living record of communities where a single corporate decision can cut off access to food for thousands, with no alternative in sight. Dollar stores did not simply fill a gap. They rewrote the rules of rural grocery economics. A 2025 UCLA study, tracking over 4,000 rural zip codes, found that when a Dollar General or Family Dollar opened, the odds of a local independent grocer surviving dropped by more than 7 percentage points within just 3 years. The reason traces back to a simple equation. razor-thin margins, and a relentless focus on volume. Most rural grocers need at least $1,000 in sales per square foot each year to break even. But as dollar stores flooded the market with low-priced, shelf-stable staples, independent stores saw their sales erode, often falling below that survival line. The shift was not just about price. Dollar stores became the default grocer for millions, especially in places where no supermarket would go. SNAP benefits flowed through these outlets at extraordinary rates. At Family Dollar, $11 out of every $100 spent came from SNAP, with rural locations seeing nearly 60% of total sales tied to SNAP-eligible items. These stores were not just a retail presence. They were, for many, the last thread holding a fragile food system together. Each closure now cuts deeper than the loss of a storefront. On average, 8.7 full-time jobs disappear with every shuttered dollar store, jobs that disproportionately went to women and minority workers. When the anchor leaves, the economic ripple is immediate. Fewer paychecks, less local spending, and a main street that grows quieter by the week. In Winchester, Illinois, the Great Scott Community Market, once a thriving worker-owned co-op, watched its sales collapse after a Dollar General opened less than a mile away. Even after the chain pulled out, the co-op could not recover, falling short of the $1,000 per square foot threshold and closing for good in 2025. The exit of a dollar store is not a statistical blip. It is the final blow in a cycle that leaves entire communities without a single place to buy groceries. Latrina Begley wakes up each morning in Nashville, Tennessee, knowing the math of survival has changed. Where she once wheeled her groceries home from a Family Dollar 5 blocks away, she now faces a 30-minute drive, 20 miles each way, to the nearest Dollar General. Gasoline alone costs her $42 a month, a sum that used to buy a week's worth of bread, milk, and eggs. Her food budget has ballooned from 22% to 28% of her monthly income. Fruits and vegetables, already a stretch, have become rare. Medical records show her blood glucose levels climbing by 3% in 6 months, a silent warning that the price of distance is measured in more than dollars. In rural Kentucky, a 64-year-old veteran, paralyzed from the waist down, once relied on a Family Dollar that was both accessible and SNAP-friendly. The store's closure forced him onto a $70 a month rideshare bill, just to reach a Dollar General 30 miles away, a store with aisles too narrow for his wheelchair. The impact reaches into his kitchen and his body. Canned and packaged foods now make up more than half his meals. He has gained 7% of his body weight, and his doctor has doubled his hypertension medication. For many elders in these towns, the only choice is to skip the trip entirely. A round trip to the closest supermarket can stretch to 80 miles. At local gas stations and convenience stores, a dozen eggs costs $8 or more, double or triple the supermarket price. The stories repeat across the map. A mother skipping meals so her kids can eat. A neighbor rationing insulin because the pharmacy left with the last anchor store. Families pooling cash for a single monthly run to a big box chain an hour away. Each statistic, 53.6 million Americans in low-access tracts, 44 counties without a single grocery, translates into a daily struggle, a lived reality of scarcity and impossible choices. The data becomes flesh and blood in every empty refrigerator and every skipped prescription. Patterns of scarcity in rural America are no accident. They trace back to policy and power. Historic redlining by the Homeowners Loan Corporation in the 1930s created boundaries that still echo today. Neighborhoods graded as hazardous are now 149% more likely to be food deserts, even after controlling for income and car ownership. The odds for tracts labeled declining are more than doubled. Across the country, Black households face food insecurity at a rate of 21%, compared to just 8% for white households, and Hispanic households stand at nearly 17%. These disparities deepen in regions where supermarkets never returned after decades of disinvestment. Four grocery giants, Walmart, Kroger, Albertsons, and Publix, now command a third of all U.S. grocery sales. In over 200 regional markets, Walmart alone controls more than half. The result? The same communities once cut off by redlining now find themselves stranded by corporate consolidation, with higher rates of diabetes and hypertension mapped directly onto the old lines of exclusion. Closure projections point to a deepening crisis. If current trends hold, the next 5 years could see up to 1,012 more dollar store shutdowns, with nearly 9.5 million additional Americans pushed into low-access zones. Rural counties losing their last store face a 0.7% annual outmigration, as families and young workers leave for places with basic services. Zillow analytics show home values drop between 3 and 5% within 2 years of a grocery closure, while school districts report enrollment declines and Main Street vacancy rates double. Food banks are already straining to meet a surge in demand of $1.2 billion as SNAP recipients shift their budgets from retail to emergency assistance. Policymakers face a menu of costly but necessary interventions, expanding the Healthy Food Financing Initiative to $100 million per year, scaling up mobile grocery fleets, instituting a SNAP spend floor to keep marginal stores open, and offering multi-year grants to community-owned co-ops. Without these steps, the economic and social unraveling will only accelerate. Today, nearly 18 million Americans live in food deserts defined by the USDA, with rural food insecurity rates now 30% above the national average. When portfolio optimization shutters the last store, it's not just inventory that disappears, it's dignity, health, and hope. Rural abandonment isn't an accounting line, it's a sentence.